All right, sweetie, now is the time to start our engines and go through the entire race of Drag Race Parts 1 and 2.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
So,
Whole thing.
now, for your first season on Drag Race, you did pretty well.
Yeah.
You made it to 5th place, and you were Miss Congeniality.
The coveted 5th place position.
I mean, a lot of
really
good fifth placers have done really well.
Yeah, it's true. We got there's Alyssa. There's there's Alyssa.
Well, I'm trying to think of. There are a lot of good ones, and they've all become kind of famous.
Yeah,
really,
and now I'm
placers.
kind of like forgetting who exactly, but that position always does kind of well.
Yeah.
Latrice, yeah.
Wait, what did you say, Lady Red?
Latrice.
Oh, Latrice.
Latrice.
Yeah.
God, earlier I was thinking of all of them. Anyway.
I love to think of an idea and then have absolutely no evidence of that idea. Just trust me.
How did you first decide to audition? What was that? How did that come into your life, that idea?
Well, Jinkx did season 5, and I was like, oh, well, I'm not letting her do that without me.
Right.
I mean, it was basically that.
Yeah.
I'd had friends kind of be like, oh, you should do Drag Race for a long time. And I was pretty resistant to it. And the main reasons being that I am pretty private and nobody knew who I was out of drag. So I would like have people who were regulars at my shows who I would just see on the streets and they'd be my barista or whatever, and I never had to deal with it, you know, because they didn't recognize me. So I loved that anonymity. But then also I was like, it feels like cheating because all the drag queens I looked up to, like Farrah and Coco Peru and Lady Bunny and whoever, they like clawed their way to the top. And they did it through, like we were talking about, experience makes you better, you know? It's like, well, if you fast forward past all of the learning, then like, ugh. But then I kind of realized, I actually talked to some of those queens. They were all like, well, we'd do it if that was that was part of the landscape when we'd been your age or whatever, then we would have, because I'm very young, but then we would have done that too. So I finally it kind of clicked that it's like, oh, it's stupid to pretend Drag Race is not affecting every drag queen's life and career right now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like I said, so I remember sitting around in a room actually with Jinkx, Monsoon, and Robbie Turner and being like, should we all audition for this thing? And Jinkx was the only one who put in a tape and then she won.
Wow, and now was that an extra pressure when you got on?
Of course
you're like,
it
oh
was.
shit.
Yes. I was really, I knew there would be comparisons and and she's a brilliant performer, So yeah, it was a lot of pressure, but that really lit the fire under me. And I think Jinkx and I, we're such good friends and we work really well together and we collaborate really well together. But Gus always says that there is sort of this healthy competition between us where we keep each other moving forward. We keep each other trying to do better.
Was that the first time you auditioned and then you got on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, zip right in. Okay.
Yeah. Wait, I don't know if I'm allowed to tell this, but I want to anyway.
Tell me.
Okay. I know that's your favorite thing for something to start with. So Pete, somebody in San Francisco told me that she was, this is off to a great start, told me that she was trying to get a queen on the show, on season 6, and that she like knew somebody in production or something, and she was like, oh my God, I'm so not supposed to say this. And she was like, what makes a good audition video? And they were like, well, don't tell anybody I sent you this, but they sent her my audition video. And that was before I got on. So apparently I made a really good audition video.
Wow, so you did it right.
Well, it was because I was like, I have to get on. I'm not letting Jinkx have this.
Please someone download that audition video right away and send it to Miss Lady Red. Thank you.
I think the parameters have probably gotten a little stiffer since then.
Yeah, now you have to bungee jump and you have to learn to fly and you have to levitate an object.
And you have to look great as a naked man.
Oh my God. Snatch Game, you won. You slayed. I watched it again earlier today and just like, we originated the language. It's just so good.
Thank you.
Honestly, I think it was the best it's ever been done.
Wow.
In my opinion.
Thank you so much.
I think the way you played off other people, the way you embodied that character. I mean, I'm sure RuPaul was peeing in his pants, which we know is most important. Did you know you had killed it on the day?
I think that I was honestly in one of those like nerve blackouts where you're just, I mean, do you know that thing where you're like, you really want to do well at something, so you just kind of like immediately afterwards, you're like, what did I just do? But I definitely knew that I was making Rue laugh. But everything else was just, I had my blinders on. I was just hyper-focused. So I was delighted because actually, in terms of wanting to live up to Jinkx, I mean, Little Edie was her shining moment, you know? So after that happened, I was like, okay, well, I can die now.
I'll always have that. You'll always have Snatch Game. You'll have it twice.
Which I have to say I feel very good about.
You should.
The 2 Snatch Game thing is, that is my like proudest accomplishment drag race wise.
Now Michelle Visage accused you of hiding behind a costume, that she did not know who the real DeLa was. Now you would do those when they would do the critique. You still were in character.
Yeah.
Which is definitely different than some people who are very much just themselves or whatever. Like
Right.
How did that? Did you?
Was
did
that
they,
a door? Who was that?
Yes, it was. Was that something that you felt strongly about, that you wanted to always present the character? Was there pushback from production? What was that like?
There wasn't really pushback from production. I mean, I certainly like heard about it on the runway, and there were other girls who found it like annoying on set. But I was committed to that because I wanted people to know who they were going to come see on stage. Right. You know what I mean? Like when I'm on stage, I am playing a character. And if I'm just like speaking and acting as I normally would, but in costume, then people would get there and they'd be like, wait, what? Who's this? You know?
Oh, that's true. That is really true.
So that was very much me just like kind of making an artistic / business decision about wanting audiences to kind of know what they were getting into. Jinkx actually talks about this as well, is that, she was this sweet little woodland nymph on the show. And then people come to her shows and she's like this foul-mouthed, drunk slut. And they're like, who is that?
Right.
And now they know because she's been touring for a while. But that was, that I learned a little bit from her.
When you were eliminated, there was controversy. The fans were not happy.
Yeah.
So that must have felt good after the fact.
There is no better vindication than all of the internet exploding. When I was eliminated, I mostly was like, what did I do wrong? Because I knew other points where I could like sense when like I didn't hit the mark. But I really thought like, I did well in this challenge. So I was mostly really confused. I was like, I must have done something terrible that I won't see until it's on TV. And then I'll be like, oh God, how humiliating. Right. So I was kind of waiting for that episode to drop. And then when, a whole ton of other people, it didn't make sense to them either. It's very validating. But yeah, and I think that I don't know why that was something that people became so impassioned about more than, a few other things. But it certainly propelled me forward and made me more confident in I guess more self-assured that when I feel like I'm doing something well, I'm probably doing it well, and I should just do it to the best of my ability.
Let's talk about preparing for All Stars 3, because it seemed like you had, the thing is, you always created your own shows, made your own POV, and maybe didn't get to show all that you could do on season 6. Yeah. So when you knew you were going back, I think you were in a great place to really show off, which you did. You really showed them up. How much preparation did you have, and what were your thoughts on what you wanted to bring?
Yeah, I mean, preparation is really my thing. Like, I love to I'm very much a person who likes to kind of squirrel myself away and like get everything ready before something, whereas there's a lot of other queens who are great at like walking on a stage and winging it, and it's masterful, So as soon as I actually realized that I was going to do All Stars 3, after I realized that I had just subconsciously started Whole30 again.
Get that TV body back.
Kind of, and then I and then I just, immediately I canceled a bunch of gigs. I was like, I'm not going to do that thing where I where I just like leave it to the last second. I know a lot of the other girls were like working right up to the last minute and came out. I mean, I made sure that everything was like smooth and okay with the cancellations and that we rebooked and stuff. But I stayed home. I worked with my customers. I started working on my snatch game. I started, a big part of it was like emotionally preparing because it's a very difficult thing. I saw my therapist like twice a week getting ready.
Really? Yeah.
Yes.
What kind of things were you working through? If you will share that. Like you were like, I have to go back into this situation. What were the things you were most scared about?
Well, it was, I was definitely nervous about, I felt like in lots of ways I had the best showing on season 6 because, I mean, what is the better result than leaving and having everyone be mad about it?
Right.
I mean, even if you win, there's going to be, 50% of the people are going to say, you stole it from whoever.
Right. Yeah.
So there was definitely like, how do you top that? And there's just, I was really just kind of preparing myself to figure out, and it worked, to figure out how to kind of, in my brain, take the power away from production. Because there really is a thing where I wound up approaching it like, we're all just people in a room. Like, some of you are behind a camera, some of you are in front of a camera, some of you have better makeup than the rest of us, some of you, but we're really just all different departments in a business, and kind of realizing that like, me and Michelle and Rue and all the people off screen are all just people trying to make a show, really took down a lot of that anxiety. And so a lot of it was kind of just trying to reframe it in my brain a little bit so that it wouldn't be like the rat in the maze panic that it was on season 6.
Right. Well, you went on and you slayed and didn't stop slaying. I mean, that must have felt very validating.
It felt unreal.
Yeah.
I genuinely didn't expect it. And I genuinely would get wins and be like confused by it. I was like, how is this happening? But it felt great, and I, getting to watch it back, I was like, oh yeah, I worked hard and it paid off,
Yeah, you did. I mean, some of the highlights, of course, another win at Snatch Game as Paul Lynde, a brilliant choice, and a risky choice, too.
Yeah.
Because, they love to say, well, don't you play a man,
totally.
Or don't you do anything else.
Well, and they'd had, Little Richard, Michael Jackson, but those are really much more draggy characters in the sense that there's, Paul Lynde is not really wearing makeup in real life and stuff like that. But I just, Rue loves that era. She loves that kind of reference. Rue loves like a really corny, like innuendo, which is Paul Lynde's thing.
Yeah.
And also has to be somebody you care about. If you're not invested in the character you're playing, it's not going to work.
You eliminated Miss Morgan McMichaels.
I did.
And it seemed like it was because when y'all first got there, she was like, well, I'm going to eliminate the strongest girls. What was your thought process there?
It was basically that a lot of my resistance to going back on All Stars is that like I do not want to engage in the drama, real or manufactured. It's just like it's not what I'm there for. I love drag. I want to show off what I can do, and I'm not there to waste a bunch of time like butting heads with whatever. And I really, as much as I wanted to do eliminations based on whatever criteria, I was just like, if Morgan is bringing this to the competition, this is what every episode's gonna be. This is just what we're gonna be doing.
Hello, children. To see part 3 of this interview, click here. To see more Hey Qween fabulousness, click here. And don't forget to subscribe, bitch! Hey! Hey! Hey!